कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविविरीतं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भुरिदा जनाः. So in this class we study this book, the English translation of the Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, basically a record of the conversations of Sri Ramakrishna in the last few years of his life. It's recorded by M. Mahendranath Gupta. He just refers to himself as M in this book. As usual, I'll read a little bit and make some observations about it, and then you can jump in with comments, questions, and we'll see how it goes. So, we are reading on page 187 in my book. This is 11th March 1883. 11th March 1883. Is there an echo? A little bit. You can reduce the volume maybe a little bit. 11th March 1883. So it was Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. We've already started reading this. And it was being celebrated. There's not a birthday party, but devotees had come. They were sitting around and listening to Sri Ramakrishna. And then this devotee Bhavanath, we read about him last time. He comes, he bows down, he sits in front of Sri Ramakrishna, and then he gets up, he has to go. Yeah, we read this part. Sri Ramakrishna was surprised. He says, "Where are you going?" Bhavanath says, this is about who is going away? Kali Krishna. Kali Krishna is going away. And Sri Ramakrishna asks Bhavanath, where is he going? And Bhavanath says, he's going away on a little business. What's it about? He's going to the Baranagar Working Men's Institute. Master says, it's his bad luck. A stream of bliss will flow here today. He could have enjoyed it. But how unlucky. Yes. So there are some who are not at all interested in spiritual life. There are some who are interested, who sort of float in and out into some spiritual life, some spiritual practice, some kind of contact with spirituality. Some have an extraordinary opportunity like this, to be in the presence of an avatar, an incarnation. And then they have an appointment, to-do list. Okay, it's Sri Ramakrishna's birthday, I've come and wished him happy birthday, now I'm off to my next ticked, done, Sri Ramakrishna says, how unlucky, how unlucky. And then we'll go on reading after that. So, page 187, halfway. After bathing, the master put on a new wearing cloth, all the while chanting the name of God. Accompanied by one or two disciples, he walked across the courtyard to the temple of Kali, still chanting her hallowed name. His eyes had an indrawn look, like that of a bird hatching her eggs. Why a bird hatching her eggs? Because Sri Ramakrishna often, he had a picture of this actually. So there's a bird sitting on her eggs, and in the eyes of the bird is a far-off look. Sri Ramakrishna would say that the yogi absorbed in God, that's the look in the eyes of a yogi. So eyes are open, but mind is not really on the world. On entering the temple, he prostrated himself before the image and worshipped the Divine Mother. But he did not observe any ritual of worship. Now he would offer flowers and sandal paste at the feet of the image, and now he would put them on his own head. After finishing the worship in his own way, he asked Bhavanath to carry the green coconut that had been offered to the mother. He also visited the images of Radha and Krishna in the Vishnu temple. Why the green coconut? Because it's prasad. So some kind of food that has been offered to the mother, and then you take prasad after the worship. The the sacramental offerings. When the master returned to his room, he found that the other devotees had arrived, among them Ram, Nitya Gopal, and Kedar. They all saluted the master, who greeted them cordially. He asked Nitya Gopal, "Will you eat something now?" "Yes," the devotee answered. Nitya Gopal, who was 23 or 24 years old and unmarried, was like a child. His mind was always soaring in the spiritual realm. He visited the master sometimes alone and sometimes in Ram's company. The master had observed the spiritual state of his mind and had become very fond of him. He remarked now and then that Nitya Gopal was in the state of a Paramahamsa. After Nitya Gopal had finished eating, the master took him aside and gave him various instructions. A certain woman, about 31 years old and a great devotee, often visited Sri Ramakrishna and held him in high respect. She had been much impressed by Nitya Gopal's spiritual state, and looking upon him as her own son, often invited him to her house. "Master," to Nitya Gopal, do you go there?" Nitya Gopal, like a child, "Yes, I do. She takes me." Master, "Beware, holy man. Go there once in a great while, but not frequently. Otherwise you will slip from the ideal. Maya is nothing but lust and gold. A holy man must live away from women. All sink there. Even Brahma and Vishnu struggle for life in that whirlpool." Nitya Gopal listened to these words attentively. M, to himself, "How strange! This young man has developed the state of a Paramahamsa. That is what the master says now and then. Is there still a possibility of his falling into danger in spite of his high spiritual state? What an austere rule is laid down for a sadhu. He may slip from his ideal by associating intimately with women. How can an ordinary man expect to attain liberation unless such a high ideal is set by holy men? The woman in question is very devout, but still there is danger. Now I understand why Chaitanya punished his disciple, the younger Haridas, so severely. In spite of his teacher's prohibition, Haridas conversed with a widow devotee, but he was a sannyasi, therefore Chaitanya banished him. What a severe punishment! How hard is the rule for one who has accepted the life of renunciation! Again, what love the master cherishes for this devotee! He is warning him even now, lest he should run into danger in the future. Beware, holy man! These words of the master echoed in the hearts of the devotees, like the distant rumbling of thunder. So Nitya Gopal, he was a very advanced spiritual seeker, spiritual teacher also. Later in life, he became a very well-known spiritual guru. His ashram is still there in Calcutta. It's a place called Rashbihari. I mean, those who are from Calcutta, they know. Mahanirvan Math. So Nitya Gopal, he used to be called Nitya Gopal Paramahamsa. But Sri Ramakrishna saw certain tendencies in him which he warned him about. And this is about associating too freely with the opposite sex. Remember, it works both ways. Sri Ramakrishna warned his women disciples not to associate too closely with men. And similarly here, especially those who are very advanced in spiritual life and those who have taken to the life of renunciation. Another place, couple of other instances I've read about Nitya Gopal. Swami Turiyanandaji praised him very much. Turiyanandaji said, we have seen Nitya Gopal who is to always be very radiant, in great spiritual fervor. He mentions that. Swami Turiyanandaji said that he used to come and meditate with us in various places in Calcutta, deep into the night. And he was very sattvic, a very pure nature. And Turiyanandaji says, it's almost as if his body used to shine with luminosity. Swami Vivekananda has made some interesting comments. Swami Vivekananda said about Nitya Gopal to M, the author of this book. Swami Vivekananda said, M said that Nitya Gopal used to be often in tears, in divine love, in ecstasies, in great fervor. And Vivekananda remarked, so this is a recorded conversation, Vivekananda remarked, is that all of spirituality? Is it enough to weep for God or be in a kind of a frenzy of emotion? Is that spirituality? M said, I think he took refuge in the Master. Nitya Gopal took refuge in the Master. And then Vivekananda says, why do you say that? And M said, I remember seeing this once. It was night, and the path leading to the room where Sri Ramakrishna stayed in Dakshineshwar. This was a moonlit night, and M paints a very beautiful picture in the darkness, but there was strong moonlight. And in the moonlight, in the distance, I saw Sri Ramakrishna standing on that path, and Nitya Gopal kneeling down before him and bowing down at his feet. And Sri Ramakrishna was blessing him. So I felt that he had taken refuge in Sri Ramakrishna. Vivekananda says, I didn't see that. And then he says, Sri Ramakrishna told me once, tell me why Nitya Gopal, though so spiritual, is still interested in money. Sri Ramakrishna would say the two great obstacles to God realization, actually attaining God realization in spiritual life, is lust and gold, he would say. And notice here he's warning him about one thing, and he told Vivekananda about the other thing. So usually those two things, they go together. However, blessings of Sri Ramakrishna were there, and obviously Nitya Gopal was a deeply spiritual person. And later on in life, as far as I remember, he attracted a lot of followers. And his followers are still there. There is a line of teachers also, his disciples. And there is an ashram which continues till this day. So that's the story of Nitya Gopal. Sri Ramakrishna mentioned more than once, he does not belong here. That's the kind of language that Sri Ramakrishna would use. All these are spiritual seekers. They will go ahead in spiritual life and progress. But Sri Ramakrishna was very clear about there was people who followed or who were part of what might be called there is a word in Bengali, bhavdhara. Bhavdhara means philosophy is not adequate. It's the entire spiritual mood, aspiration, the whole orientation, let's say the spiritual orientation. So Sri Ramakrishna had a particular spiritual orientation, which we'll see more of again and again all throughout. It's difficult to ascertain the uniqueness of how Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual orientation was different from others, because he was so enormously inclusive. So he seems to have the spiritual orientation of everybody. But that in itself is an interesting uniqueness, that inclusivity of all. As we go ahead, we'll see another very powerful, unique feature of Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual orientation. So what he meant was, so Nitya Gopal, though very spiritual, is not part of the inner circle of what is here. So he just made that, he sort of flagged it. Okay, going on. The master went with the devotees to the northeast veranda of his room. Among them was a householder from the village of Dakshineshwar. So Dakshineshwar, where the temple is, the Kali temple, that's now firmly part of Calcutta. In those days, it was just north of Calcutta. So the village of Dakshineshwar was a householder from the village of Dakshineshwar who studied the Vedanta philosophy at home. He had been discussing Om with Kedar before the master. He said, this eternal word, the Anahata Shabda, is ever present both within and without. Master. But the word is not enough. There must be something indicated by the word. Can your name alone make me happy? Complete happiness is not possible for me unless I see you. Devotee. That eternal word itself is Brahman. Master to Kedar. Oh, don't you understand? He upholds the doctrine of the rishis of olden times. They once said to Rama, O Rama, we know you only as the son of Dasharatha. Let sages like Bharadwaja worship you as God incarnate. We want to realize Brahman, the indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. At these words, Rama smiled and went away. Kedar. Those rishis could not recognize Rama as an incarnation of God. They must have been fools. Master, seriously, please don't say such a thing. People worship God according to their tastes and temperaments. The mother cooks the same fish differently for her children, that each one may have what suits his stomach. Some she cooks the rich dish of pulao, but not all the children can digest it. For those with weak stomachs, she prepares soup. Some again like fried fish or pickled fish. It depends on one's taste. The rishis followed the path of jnana, that is knowledge. Therefore they sought to realize Brahman, the indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. But those who follow the path of devotion seek an incarnation of God to enjoy the sweetness of bhakti, devotion. The darkness of the mind disappears when God is realized. In the Purana it is said that it was as if 100 suns were shining when Rama entered the court. Why then weren't the courtiers burnt up? It was because the brilliance of Rama was not like that of a material object. As the lotus blooms when the sun rises, so the lotus of the heart of the people assembled in the court burst into blossom. As the master uttered these words, standing before the devotees, he suddenly fell into an ecstatic mood. His mind was withdrawn from external objects. No sooner did he say, "The lotus of the heart burst into blossom," then he went into deep samadhi. He stood motionless, his countenance beaming, and his lips parted in a smile. After a long time, he returned to the normal consciousness of the world. He drew a long breath and repeatedly chanted the name of Rama, every word showering nectar into the hearts of the devotees. The master sat down, the others seating themselves around him. Master, to the devotees, ordinary people do not recognize the advent of an incarnation of God. He comes in secret. Only a few of his intimate disciples can recognize him. That Rama was both Brahman absolute and a perfect incarnation of God in human form was known only to 12 rishis. The other sages said to him, "Rama, we know you only as Dasharatha's son." Can everyone comprehend Brahman, the indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss absolute? He alone has attained perfect love of God, who, having reached the absolute, keeps himself in the realm of the relative in order to enjoy the divine Leela. A man can describe the ways and activities of the Queen, footnote, Queen Victoria, if he has previously visited her in England. Only then will his description of the Queen be correct. So you remember the colonial context of this. The British rule in Calcutta was the capital. And so it was a really big thing to see the Queen, because all these white men who were ruling India, and the understanding was across the oceans there is a land, their land, where they have a queen. Now only the elite of Indian society could travel to England and visit, and they could come back and say, "We have seen the Queen," and the others would gather around and tell us. This was long before social media and internet and all. So others would want to know what the Queen was like and what England was like. So Sri Ramakrishna uses that example. A man can describe the ways and activities of the Queen if he has previously visited her in England. Only then will his description of the Queen be correct. Sages like Bharadwaja adored Rama and said, "O Rama, you are nothing but the indivisible Satchidananda. You have appeared before us as a human being. but you look like a man because you have shrouded yourself with your own Maya. These rishis were great devotees of Rama and had supreme love for God. Okay, that's a lot to be going on with. Let me go back. And so there is this gentleman visiting Sri Ramakrishna from the village of Dakshineshwar. He studies Vedanta. What does he say? He's discussing this with another devotee in front. And Sri Ramakrishna immediately corrects or adds something there. That's where you see the uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna. What is he saying? This eternal word, the Anahata Shabda, is ever present both within and without. What's he talking about? Om. So we know in the Mandukya Upanishad, the Om is described that it has these components, the three sounds, A, U, Ma. So if you chant them together, A, U, Ma, Om, so that is the description. And the meaning of Om is the first sound. A stands for A stands for the waking state. So the analysis of the three states, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. A stands for the waking state. What do you mean by waking state? This state. You are the experiencer and you experience this world. This is what we consider to be real, right? This is reality. But then this is not a complete description of our experience of life. We have another experience of life, dreams, where this entire world disappears and you fall asleep and you have a world of dreams. Another world. I admit it's imaginary, but it appears before you. And you are there as a part of that world and you're experiencing that world. So that's a dream state. And then we fall asleep, deep sleep, no experience at all. Blank, just experience of blankness, you might say. So these are the three states we cycle through every day. The world, as we see it, the physical world, a world of imagination and dreams, and blank, deep sleep. Now, a little further, if you go a little bit into this, these three states are called the causal, the subtle, and the physical. See, all our experience is of objects. And the objects means whatever you experience is an object. So everything here, whatever you see is an object. Whatever you hear, you're hearing my words, that's an object. Whatever you smell, taste, touch, that's an object. So these are all objects. But notice, all the objects that we experience in the world, they fall into two categories. One, the physical, the gross, the public. So whatever you see around, it's a shared, somebody called it a shared hallucination, this waking world. So this is a shared experience. What you see, I also see, from a different perspective. I'm seeing it from here, you're seeing it from there. But it's a common experience. And that includes all of this, plus this physical body. Whatever is inside this physical body, a doctor can also see it and you can also experience it. So this is the physical universe. That's one kind of object we experience. You might say, what else is there? But there's an internal universe of the mind. Thoughts, feelings, ideas. In fact, that's more intimate to us. But that's different from this physical world because these subtle, mental objects are private. Only you experience your thoughts and feelings. Only I experience these thoughts and feelings. But they are separate, they're private to each other. So of all the objects that we experience, and this experience of objects is what we call life. All the objects that we experience, they fall into these two categories, physical and subtle. Notice, the waking state is where we experience the physical objects here. In the dream state, in waking state, we also experience subtle objects. In our mind, we are also experiencing thoughts, emotions, feelings. In the dream state, we experience only subtle objects. Though it doesn't seem to be like that. In the dream, we feel we are inhabiting a waking world. But when we wake up, we realize it was all in the mind. Now, there's a deep sleep state, where all the objects are silenced, are shut down for a while. And so that's the absence of objects. That's also a kind of experience, quote unquote, a kind of experience. So all our experiences, the entirety of life, is the physical state, subtle state, and causal state. The deep sleep state is called the causal state. That's all. That's entirety of our experience. If you are experiencing samadhi, that's also a kind of state. If you are experiencing, you're high on weed, that's also a particular kind of state. If somebody is in anesthesia, in coma, that's also, but it's all included in this range of physical, subtle, and the causal, the blank. And Om represents these three. It's just a symbol or a way of denoting the entire range of human experience. Is the physical state. U is the subtle internal state. And the last sound, is if you blank out everything, the seed state. Why is it called a seed state? Because whatever is in the physical and the subtle is still there, but it's not distinguishable. It'll come out again. It'll sprout again. So it's a seed state. Now, beyond the U, when you chant Om, after Om there's a silence. Om. Silence. That silence denotes what he calls the eternal word, the Anahata Shabda, the unstruck sound. Struck means you make a sound like this. You make sound by contact. The contactless sound. You'll say, but there's no sound possible if you don't make contact. Yes, precisely. So the silence itself is the contactless sound. And he says that's the eternal sound of silence, you can call it. That's always there, and that denotes the reality. In Advaita Vedanta, it says that denotes the reality. That reality which appears as this waking world, which appears as your subtle dream mental world, as the seed state of the deep sleep, as the causal, subtle, and physical objects. All of them, they appear because of that underlying reality. That reality is Brahman. It feels like nothing. No, it's not nothing. But it's not something either. It is that which appears as all things. And also appears as nothing, as no thing. When nothing, deep sleep. When all things, waking and dreaming. Okay. All of that is Om. If you want more details, you have to go to the Mandukya Upanishad. Now, this gentleman is telling Kedar, so there is this unstruck sound. What does he mean? He's talking about Om. He says he's discussing Om, and then he says this unstruck sound, the always present. And that is Brahman. So basically he's talking about what the Mandukya Upanishad says, the interpretation, the meaning of Om. Now, Sri Ramakrishna seems to dispute that a little bit. He says, but the word is not enough. There must be something indicated by the word. Can your name alone make me happy? Complete happiness is not possible for me unless I see you. So you're Mr. X or Mrs. Y. I've heard the name, but until I see you, my happiness is not complete, my knowledge is not complete, my experience of you is not complete. So I know your name, but unless you have come here. So my joy is complete when the name is there and the object too. But it's not really name and object what he means. He means, he has said in another place in this Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, he says not only the ultimate reality, existence, consciousness, bliss, but also what it is manifest as. He has said in another place in the Gospel, he says the Vedantins, the non-dualists, they say waking, dreaming, deep sleep is an appearance of what? Of that which is beyond appearance, of existence, consciousness, bliss, or the absolute reality. That appears as all of this. They dismiss the appearance in order to reach the reality. You dismiss the snake in order to understand the rope. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, after explaining what Advaita is, he says in Bengali, Kintu ami shab loi, I take everything. I accept everything. I accept the fourth, the turiya, the pure existence, consciousness, bliss, which is your reality. But also the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. He says, I accept everything. What is this? I accept the waking, dreaming, deep sleep. After you deny the waking, dreaming, deep sleep and realize what is underneath, or what it really is, that waking, dreaming, deep sleep, what's it really? It's not really waking, dreaming, deep sleep. It's the radiance of one reality, which is beyond the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Waking 1, dreaming 2, deep sleep 3, and that one is the fourth. But the fourth alone, now that's Vedanta, you finished it. Once you reach that, you realize that I am that fourth. I am limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. You realize that, and that's done. However, Sri Ramakrishna says, go one step further. I am that one existence, consciousness, bliss. I am that fourth. But what are these three now? Because waking, dreaming, deep sleep still continues. These three are your radiance. You alone are appearing as the waker and the waking world. You alone are appearing as the dreamer and the dream world. You alone are not appearing. You alone are the potential state of deep sleep. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, all three are your radiance, your manifestation, or the manifestation of that fourth of Brahman. And Sri Ramakrishna says, that is the next step. First, so how is this different? See, start where we are. Just anybody. What do we think is the reality? We think, I am here, I am this body and mind, this is who I am real, I am this person, here is my world. This is separate from me, and it's a world I inhabit and I experience. That's real. Dream is just a dream, we dismiss it as an appearance. Deep sleep is basically for me blank, nothing. I'm just napping. It's switched off. That is the state of ignorance. Then what is the state of knowledge? By an investigation of waking, dreaming, deep sleep, we come to the realization, I am the witness of waking, dreaming, deep sleep. All these three states appear in me, play around in me, and disappear back into me. Like the gold, which is fashioned into a necklace, and then melted, and then fashioned into a bracelet, and melted and fashioned into a ring. But all throughout, in the necklace and the bracelet and the ring, it's the same gold. What is enlightenment? Going from the identification, I am this person, Sarva Priyananda, sitting here in this person, this body, this personality, located here, this is who I am, absolutely clear about this, to the realization, I am that one awareness in which the Sarva Priyananda identity is appearing, in which the dream world is appearing, in which the deep sleep blackness is appearing and disappearing, they're coming and going. I am that witness consciousness. That is Advaitic, Vedantic realization. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, go a step further. Make it a fuller realization. Realize then, I, that one existence consciousness bliss, is now here in this waking state. This one and all of this also. What's the difference from the state of ignorance? In the state of ignorance also, I am here and I am experiencing this world, but I am quite clear, my identity, I am this much only. And the rest of it is all different from me. Some people, places, things, activities I like. Some people, places, things, activities I dislike. The rest I am indifferent to. This is my samsara. But once you become enlightened, once you realize you are the fourth, you are the witness consciousness, you are Brahman, then you realize you are one with everything. That is what Sri Ramakrishna is pushing towards. That again, come back. And not only that, enjoy that. And instead of saying, I am all of this, it's a little difficult. Say, my divine mother, Kali. Now it's Durga Puja is coming, the end of this week. So this week actually. So my divine mother is all of this. She alone is playing as all of this. And I am the child of the mother. Whatever I experience, whoever I experience, whatever is going on here is the play of the divine mother. That's what he's pushing towards. So look, now it will make sense. The devotee said, the eternal word itself is Brahman. Sri Ramakrishna pushed back and said, Yeah, that word, that silence beyond Om, that's the reality, it's true. But then, what does it manifest as? As this. Enjoy this. What did you do with this? In ignorance, we engaged with all of this as samsara, as the struggle to get a little bit of happiness from this, struggle to avoid the miseries and the problems and the threats and fears. That's how we engage with this world. In enlightenment, Advaitic enlightenment, I dismissed all of it and realized the gold underlying the ornaments. But Sri Ramakrishna says, the gold is the reality, that's true. But the fun part of the gold is the bracelet, the necklace, the ring. Now look back upon the world. This will no longer be samsara for you. This is the divine play for you. And you don't have to say, I am all of this. It sounds megalomaniacal, though it's true. But you can engage with it as my beloved Lord is all of this. As my divine mother, as Sri Ramakrishna would say, my mother is all of this. Now he says, but the devotee pushes back. He says, no, the eternal word is Brahman. Om is Brahman. The name is Brahman. You don't have to look for anything. No, you don't have to look for the manifestation. Sri Ramakrishna says, now he points to Kedar, the devotee was listening to all of this. Don't you understand what he is saying, the Om guy? He upholds the doctrine of the rishis of the old times, by which he means the Vedanta, the non-dual Vedanta. What did those rishis, the sages, what did they say to Rama, the incarnation of God? So the Lord has arisen as the incarnation, is born in this world as the incarnation of God. The Divine Mother has embodied. See, this is the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna. There is an underlying subtext here, that he is the incarnation and this is the advent of the incarnation. That's what he is pushing here. But the sages said to Rama, O Rama, we know you only as the son of Dasharatha, the king Dasharatha. You are the son of Dasharatha. In Hindi they say, Dasharatha ka beta. You're a prince. You're a nice guy. You're a good prince. Your Highness. That's it. No, but what about pure consciousness alone has appeared as Rama? No. That's meaningless, because in that case pure consciousness has also appeared as this tree and this dog and this sky and the earth and as me too. So I am pure consciousness. That's all we are looking for. So the sages said to Rama, yeah, people say you are an incarnation. We don't buy it. O Rama, we know you only as the son of, we'll accept you as the son of the prince of Ayodhya, that's kingdom, and you're the son of Dasharatha. Let sages like Bharadwaja, there were other sages, a few sages who recognized him as an incarnation and worshipped him. Let sages like Bharadwaja worship you as God incarnate. But what about you? We want to realize Brahman, the indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. That means I am Brahman. I want to realize myself as that and be free of samsara, the cycle of birth and death. That's it. What was Rama's reaction to this? Did he say, you're right, I forget all that incarnation stuff? Or did he say, no, curse you, you are denying me as the incarnation? No, Rama's reaction was, at these words, Rama smiled and went away. Left them alone. Okay, go your way. You're fine. You're good people. You're saints. So go your way. But Kedar was very annoyed. He's a devotee, So he says, what fools they were. The rishis couldn't recognize. What kind of sages are they? They couldn't recognize God. God incarnate. How come they are sages? Ordinary people, we can't recognize God maybe. But they couldn't recognize God. They couldn't recognize Rama as an incarnation of God. They must have been fools. Now, Sri Ramakrishna scolds him. See, this is a delicate balancing act. On one hand, you have the absolute existence, consciousness, bliss, and the non-dual reality. I am that, and that's it. I will not take anything more. The quest for who am I? You realize you are Brahman. That's done. On the other hand, you have God, incarnation, devotion, love. Now, one can lean to this side or lean to that side. Sri Ramakrishna says, don't lean, accept both. So that other devotee was leaning to that side. Om, I want only the silence after Om. I want only the absolute. I want to realize I am Brahman and freedom. And Kedar is leaning to this side. What fools those rishis are. They didn't recognize God incarnate. Sri Ramakrishna is correcting him now. He's now correcting the opposite. You must understand this, otherwise it will sound self-contradictory. When he says those rishis must have been fools, Sri Ramakrishna seriously scolds him. Please don't say such a thing. People worship God according to their tastes and temperaments. Right? This is another unique. So there are two unique things. They are all connected, but the unique nature of Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual orientation. We've seen three things. One is a very strict renunciation of samsara. Pure spirituality without any compromise with samsara. Unlike Nitya Gopal. And then the next thing was both the impersonal and the personal. Knowledge and devotion. The absolute and the manifestation. Brahman and God. Both. And third, all of these attitudes in spiritual life are all right. It's not that one is right and the other one is wrong, or one is superior, the other one is inferior. Then how do you understand? Why are all these paths there? He says, because of our temperaments. Our constitution is we differ from each other. And the way we will approach the absolute reality, God, Brahman, whatever you call it, will also differ. And these differences are all right, he says. He says, and then he gives the example of the mother cooking fish for her children. And one is a hot spicy dish, pilau. Another one is a very thin soup. Another one is fried fish. And he says it will not suit the stomachs of everybody. So the children will enjoy the dish in different ways. I don't know if non-duality is the weak soup or the spicy soup. Or is God, in a worship of God and devotion, is that the spicy dish or is that the weak dish? Or I don't know which one it is. Anyway. And then he explains further. The rishis followed the path of jnana, of knowledge. What is the path of knowledge? They sought to realize Brahman, the indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. Satchidanand, the existence, consciousness, bliss, of which the entire universe is an appearance. And what is that absolute reality? It's you. It's your reality. You will realize it. When you realize it as Aham Brahmasmi. I am that reality. But, he says, those who follow the path of devotion, they seek an incarnation of God. They worship God. So they worship God as Narayana, Vishnu, or Kali, or Durga, or Ganesha, or the Father in heaven as Jehovah, as Allah, in whichever different form. This is the God of religion. But that God also has a much more specific manifestation, occasionally, in history. So he's born in human history, interacts with us, and then passes away. So Rama, Krishna, we Hindus regard Buddha as an avatar, incarnation of God, which must be particularly galling to Buddhists because they don't accept Buddha as God as also. So and then Buddha, not only we say there is God, but Buddha, your Buddha is an incarnation of God. Or Jesus Christ. That's the most vivid manifestation, he says. That's the fun part of it. That's the bracelet, the necklace, the ring made of gold. It's very powerful. What do you do? Why do you do that? To enjoy the sweetness of bhakti. Then he gives an example. It's the fun part of it. I am the limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. That's too serious for fun. It's not that it's sad, but it's above all this sweetness. Those sages would say, that's fine, but you are just the son of Dasharatha. Then Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. The darkness of the mind disappears when God is realized. And then he gives an example. It is said that when Rama, incarnation of God, walks into the court, it's as if 100 suns have arisen. Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna sees Krishna in the 11th chapter, Devi Sahasreshu Yugapad Utthita, as if 1,000 suns rise together in the sky. Oppenheimer, when he says atom bomb explosion, he remembered these verses. Now, what does it mean? 1,000 suns rising in the sky, atom bomb is going to vaporize everybody. Is it God realization like the bursting of an atom bomb? He says, why weren't people burnt up if 100 suns rise? It's not a material light, because the light metaphor is used again and again in Vedanta, but it doesn't at all refer to a light like this or the light like the sun. It's just an example. What does it refer to? He says, the brilliance of Rama was not like that of a material object, as the lotus blooms when the sun rises. Very beautiful metaphor. The lotus of the heart of the people assembled in the court burst into blossom. The spiritual awakening, that was Sri Ramakrishna's highest blessing. You know, when he would bless people, the highest blessing he would say, Chaitanya hok. Be illumined. Be illumined. Be enlightened. That would be his blessing. So he says that's what happened in the presence of Rama. And the moment he said, the lotus of the heart blossomed in the presence of Rama, suddenly he becomes still. He was standing and talking to people in his room. He becomes still. And his face, it glows, and there's an unearthly light and an unearthly smile on his face. The descriptions are there. There's one description here and a number of times. This is a samadhi. He would go often into samadhi. And many people have seen him on many, many occasions and left the multiple accounts of seeing Sri Ramakrishna in samadhi. And it would have a tremendous effect on people around in the locality. They would have some kind of experience of that, the heart blossoming. So this was the thing which attracted people, one of the main things which attracted people to Sri Ramakrishna, an unearthly attraction of this direct experience of God, which he could scatter around himself. As the master uttered these words, standing before the devotees, he fell into an ecstatic mood. His mind was withdrawn from the external objects. His mind was so tuned to God, so tuned to samadhi, so habituated to samadhi, that the slightest suggestion would set him off. Somebody folded an umbrella, his mind went into samadhi. Folding an umbrella, what does it suggest? It's exactly like that. That's one way. With one sharp jerk, you pull back from the five senses into the mind, from the mind into the intellect, from the intellect into the blankness and beyond. We can sort of understand it through Vedanta. Sri Ramakrishna would experience it immediately. And he would remain there. We can't remain there. Our example, somebody said, we are like, when we try to meditate, we are like that crow trying to sit on a high steeple on the turret of a building in a windy time. You see how they struggle to sit there? They keep getting blown away. We are like that. We keep getting blown away. But he could steady himself and merge himself in samadhi. Yes. No sooner did he say, the lotus of the heart burst into blossom, than he went into deep samadhi. He stood motionless, his countenance beaming, and his lips parted in a smile. His face would, on these occasions, his face would radiate joy. Somebody said he was like a ripe, what was the example? Like a ripe pumpkin or something, as if it's going to burst. His face would be bursting with joy. After a long time, he returned to normal consciousness of the world. He drew a long breath and repeatedly chanted the name of Rama. Every word showering nectar into the hearts of the devotees. Every time he repeated Rama, Rama, Rama. It's like being sprinkled with nectar. This is for us who are initiated into mantras for chanting the name of God. This is an indication of how we should feel when we chant the name of God. When we repeat the mantra in our hearts in our meditation, every repetition bringing forth burst of nectar within us. Sweetness, joy, purity, upliftment, light. The master sat down, they sat down around him, and then he said, ordinary people do not recognize the advent of an incarnation. He's continuing the same thought. So some of the sages recognized that this Rama is actually Brahman, the incarnation of Saguna Brahman, of Ishvara. Others didn't. He comes in secret. Only a few of his intimate disciples can recognize him. The Rama was both Brahman absolute and a perfect incarnation of God in human form, was known only to 12 rishis. The others said to him, Rama, we know you only as Dasharatha's son. And there's a saying in Hindi, Jo Ram Dasharath ka beta, so Ram Jagat pasera, wahi Ram ghat ghat mein leta. That Rama who is the son of Dasharath, the prince of Ayodhya. So person, historical person. But that same Rama is the creator of the universe, that is God. So Rama is an incarnation of God. But where is Rama now? Because Rama, the incarnation, is gone from long thousands of years ago. And God is there in heaven or wherever. He says, Soi Ram ghat ghat mein leta. That Rama is also the immanent divinity. Immanent divinity means in every particle of this universe, that divinity exists. But we don't see it. That's the thing. And then he gives the example that, so what is his recommendation? Sri Ramakrishna's recommendation. He says, attain the absolute or realize the absolute, that you are Brahman, and then live in the relative with the attitude of a devotee, with full of love and devotion and joy. Basically exactly what he is doing. And you want to see a demonstration of what he wants you to do, what he is doing. Not to that extent, maybe we cannot do it, it's impossible. But to whatever extent we can. Realizing that you are the absolute. Say, but I can't realize. All right, knowing that you are the absolute. I still don't know it. All right, believing that you are the absolute. And then believing that this is the manifestation of that absolute, your own divinity. This is the divine mother. This is your Rama, this is your Krishna, this is your Christ in every being, everywhere in the world. Then live with that attitude of joy and surrender and service. And then he gives an example. Why should you go to the absolute and live like... See, if you realize you're Brahman and you stop there, then you are depriving yourself of the fullest possibility of spiritual life. You're not only the absolute, but you're also the manifestation. What does the non-dualist, the classical Advaitin, what does he use this manifestation for? As a stepping stone to the realization of the absolute. I'm literally translating from Shankara. Shankara's introductory verses to the Mandukya Karika. Maya Sankhya Turiyam. The ultimate reality is called fourth. And Shankara says, fourth with respect to what? Counting 1, 2, 3 in Maya. 3 appearances, 1 reality. What are the 3 appearances? This, you and your world now, it's an appearance. You and your dream world, it's an appearance. You and the blankness of your deep sleep, that's an appearance. These 3 are appearances of one limitless radiance which you are, the fourth. The fourth. And what does Advaita Vedanta want you to do? It wants you to dissociate, to turn away from the 3 and center yourself in the fourth and realize I am that. So that's the meaning of the Chin Mudra. Chit means consciousness. Chin Mudra. Mudra are various hand formations which are used in ritualistic worship and in Tantra. Some of them are really difficult. We had to learn all that. It's like twisting your hand into so many shapes. These are all these different mudras are there. So the Chin Mudra is this. What does this mean? So the waking, dreaming and deep sleep, each bigger than the earlier one. We think waking world is the biggest. No. Far bigger is the cosmic mind, the second one. Far bigger is the causal state, the third one. And I, this one, I. Who am I? I have identified myself with these 3. Right now. This is representative of what we experience ourselves now, what we know ourselves to be now. Yes, I am the guy who's awake now. I am the guy who dreams and the one who falls asleep and wakes up again. This. So this one is in association with these three: causal, subtle, and physical. Right. Now what is Vedanta telling you to do? Is telling you this. There is this one, the one reality. Instead of associating with these three, you associate with this. Associate means realize I am this. This is called Chin Mudra, the mudra expressing enlightenment. The mudra expressing the teaching of Advaita Vedanta, Chin Mudra, mudra of consciousness. The hand symbol expressing consciousness. Now Sri Ramakrishna says, knowing this, realizing this, what about these three guys? These three fellows here? Know these three also as your own manifestation, and live in this world of these three, as we all are, and enjoy it. If you only do this and get rid of these three, you don't get the full potentiality. You have to have this and then these three. If you don't have this, you have only these three, you'll suffer. You'll be in trouble. Suppose I don't realize myself as pure consciousness, but I am in this world of the physical, subtle, and causal, and I have deep devotion to God like Kedar has. I have devotion to God, I believe in God. That will be a belief. That will be dualistic religion. That is faith, not bad, just as this is also excellent. The pure consciousness, I am Brahman, is also excellent. So is the dualistic religion, good. But there the problem is, it's on a very shaky basis. It can be challenged. It can be challenged. You run up against someone like Christopher Hitchens and your dualistic religion will fall to pieces. There have been saints in that dualistic mode also. I worship God, but always the problem of lack of faith or loss of faith and shakiness will be there. Once you realize this, absolutely, you're on firm ground. Nothing can shake you. You know the reality. And then you enjoy these three. So on one side, you know the reality, you're enlightened, but you have deprived yourself of the full possibility, the sweetness, and the manifestation in this world. On the other side, you are in the manifestation and you have devotion to God, but you don't know. You just believe. And when you do this, all of it together, then you know the reality and you are expressing it in day-to-day life. What Vivekananda called religion is the manifestation of the divinity within. Not just enlightenment, realization or knowledge of the divinity within. Manifest it in life. Get the full benefit of it. So Sri Ramakrishna says here, then some sages, so he gives the example of the Queen of England. The enlightened one is the one who has seen the Queen of England and has gone there. And then you come back and then you talk about it, you know, that means, they say in spirituality, you not only have to go away, you have to come back to. O Rama, you are nothing but the invisible Satchidananda. You have appeared before us as a human being, but you look like a man because you have shrouded yourself with your own Maya. They were great devotees. Did they not know that they were Brahman, these rishis? The rishis knew they were Brahman and also enjoyed the divine play. Okay, we have time for one or two questions and we'll wrap up our observations. Yes.
Regarding the different paths to enlightenment, for a person with a strong temperament for the knowledge and self-inquiry path, how are they to interpret the devotional path, especially when it comes to incarnations? Can an incarnation rightly be seen as a special feature of Maya, like an extremely large and especially still bucket of water, to use that analogy?
Yes, true. The manifestations of the reality, which are all, the manifestations are all products or appearances in Maya. They have two kinds of manifestations. One kind which shrouds the reality, which is most of the universe. But the incarnation is something that is entirely in this universe and yet it reveals the reality. It reveals the absolute. Sri Ramakrishna would compare the incarnation to a hole in a wall, in a high wall. The high wall prevents us from seeing what is real beyond. But the hole in the wall, if there's a hole in the wall, through that we can see the vastness beyond the high wall. So incarnation is like that. The hymn which we sing to Sri Ramakrishna every day in the evening arati, the second one, Om Ring Ritam, those who have heard it, there in the second verse, this was composed by Swami Vivekananda. In the second verse, Vivekananda, he writes, and which we sing every day, Tejas taranti tarasa tvai tripta Tejas taranti tarasa tvai tripta trishna. Tejas taranti tarasa. Teja means the shining, the heat. Teja literally means heat and light. The shining, the heat, that golden disk which obscures the face of truth, to use the metaphor from the Isha Upanishad. Hiranmayena patrena satyasya apihita mukham. The face of truth is covered by a golden disk. What is the golden disk? This. People and chairs and the room and the sky and the earth and the sun and the moon, our bodies, our thoughts, our feelings, our conceptions, our philosophies, our religions, all of this is the golden disk. This is not the truth. This is the appearance. But the appearance obscures the truth. And the real nature, the essence of this golden disk is desire. The Buddha's noble truths, there is suffering, there is freedom from dukkha, suffering. There is freedom from suffering, nirvana. But there is a cause of suffering. What is that? Trishna, desire, thirst. The root of this, the essence of this golden disk, this obscuration of the truth is desire. And Sri Ramakrishna would make it even more precise. Desire is lust and gold. The crucial desire is acquisition and lust. How do we transcend this? Even if you study a lot of Vedanta, it will still not help you to transcend it. That's why spiritual sadhana is necessary. Yoga is necessary. Meditation is necessary. Devotion is necessary. Selfless service is necessary. And a strictly ethical life is necessary. All of it difficult, and that's why so few people succeed. Now, here is the secret. Why is Sri Ramakrishna pushing the avatar? Because he's an avatar, yes. But what is the special advantage to us? Vivekananda reveals this. What's the advantage of an avatar? He says, thanks to the avatar, Tejas taranti tarasa, this radiance, this golden disk, this heat of passion and acquisition and lust, one can cross over easily and quickly. How? Tvai tripta trishnaha. If you quench your thirst in the avatar. If you quench your thirst in the avatar. If you try to quench your thirst in the world, you will die. Not once, again and again and again. Terrible pain and shock and suffering is in the world. Because we are trying to quench our thirst in the world. Quench your thirst in God, especially in the avatar, because the avatar is tangible. What will happen then? You cross over that golden disk. You cross over that heat of passion, of desire, that thirst is quenched. The rest is easy. What Vedanta has taught us and all of that will become immediately manifest then. It will become manifest very easily then. That is the special advantage. Many advantages of an avatar for establishment of religion, spreading of spirituality and all of that. But for a spiritual seeker, for us, that's a special inner secret. Why the way of the avatar is easy, sweet, and quick. If it was not, Sri Ramakrishna wouldn't bother. In fact, God wouldn't bother to come as an incarnation. God would say, go and read the Mandukya Upanishad. I have said whatever I wanted to say, it's there. You are the fourth, beyond the first, second, and third. And he might even say, yes, you are the fourth, and then live in the world enjoying the three. But we say, yeah, all of that, but the thing is, it's so difficult. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, if it is difficult, then come to the avatar. Jesus Christ in the New Testament, he says, those that are heavy laden, come unto me. I shall also put a yoke on you, but my yoke is light. So come unto me. That's why you see the special power in Hinduism, you see. We may talk about Advaita Vedanta, but the vast majority, the mainstream Hinduism is what? Krishna, Rama. Patanjali may talk about Yoga, Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha. He's right. But how many of them are doing the Nirodha of Chitta Vritti, the Samadhi, practice of yogic Samadhi? How many can and how many are trying even? Advaita Vedanta may tell you again and again, the Upanishads and so many texts, Atma Bodha, Upadesha Sahasri, Viveka Chudamani, Aparoksha Anubhuti, Drigdrishya Viveka, all of that are telling you, you are Brahman. And we say, yeah, I know that. Has it helped you? Not much. Why not? Because of this, the golden disc obscuring the face of truth. That's what the avatar does. One more. Can take two here. The lady here, and then we'll go to the back and stop. The lady here first.
Are causal state and seed state the same thing?
Yes. Causal state and seed state are the same thing. Remember, the three states, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, the physical, subtle, and causal, they're states, they're not reality. Whatever goes through states is not real. So they are states of the mind, for example. The mind is manifest and fully active, waking state, engaged with the senses and an external world. The mind withdrawn into itself in dreaming, that's a subtle state. And the mind shutting down entirely for a while is the seed state. But that's at the individual level. The same thing is there at the cosmic level, the totality. Because here, look at the way we experience the world, individual and cosmic. So the cosmic level, the physical state is the entire universe. The subtle state is the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha. And the causal state is Ishvara, the god of religion, Bhagavan. Why do we have a physical state? Because of physical body. Why do we have a subtle state? I, the witness consciousness. Why do I experience subtle state? Because of mind. Why do I have a causal state? Because of what is called Anandamaya, the ignorance, Ajnana. Why does the ultimate reality, Brahman, have a physical state? Because of this physical universe. Why does it have a subtle state? Because of the cosmic mind. Why is it God? It's because of Maya. Maya is the seed state. So for us, our individual ignorance is the seed state, the Anandamaya, where our personal seeds are deposited, from which our individual personality sprouts. But for the entire universe, the causal state or the seed state is Maya. Consciousness plus Maya. That in the Maya, the seeds of the entire universe are deposited. When everything is shut down, it's consciousness plus Maya. When everything reboots again, then consciousness, Maya, cosmic mind, cosmic body. Last question.
Pranam Maharaj.
Yes.
The same hymn, the last line, Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupani avatara varishtaya. So, why is Sri Ramakrishna, why did Swami Vivekananda use or call Sri Ramakrishna the avatara varishta?
Yeah, the supreme among all avatars. Somebody asked, is he greater than Krishna, Rama, Jesus? There are two ways of answering this. One is, all avatars are avatara varishta. So especially for the devotee, if you are a worshipper of Krishna or Rama, for you Rama or Krishna or Jesus or the avatar whom you worship, your personal deity is avatara varishta. And you must think of it that way, otherwise it will not work. Knowing that might be true For the other worshippers, it might be true in that form for others. For the Muslim, Allah is the supreme. That conception of God is the highest. For the Jew, the Jehovah conception is the highest. For the Christian, see the power of the incarnation. For the Christian, it's not just the Old Testament God, but the real power of Christianity lies in Jesus Christ, the incarnation of God, and that is the supreme Avatara Varishta. So that's one answer. Answer which will please everybody and offend nobody. The other answer, somebody asked Sri Ramakrishna, do you think, somebody asked Swami Vivekananda, do you think Sri Ramakrishna was an avatar? And Swami Vivekananda said, what do you mean by an avatar? And that gentleman said, well, like Rama and Buddha and Krishna and Jesus and all. And Vivekananda answered, in that case, I know Sri Ramakrishna to be greater than all of them. He says, I know that. You might say, in what sense then? In the sense that this is in one interpretation could be in this day and age, this is the incarnation. So the incarnation which is manifested in a particular age, the power of God works through that incarnation most effectively in that particular age. So in these centuries and centuries to come, it is through this incarnation that the manifestation of power is maximum. So it will not work if I worship some other incarnation, if I do not worship an incarnation, if I'm entirely on the path of self-knowledge, it will work. It will still work. In every path is still valid. Not only valid, look at Sri Ramakrishna. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya, sarva dharma swarupine. He energized and revivified every path of spiritual experience. So God is not parochial. God is not partial. God is not, sectarian. Sectarian, yes. God is not sectarian. So when God comes as an incarnation, religion, spirituality is again energized in this world. In which form? In every form. Whatever there was, every genuine path of spiritual practice again becomes recharged. Recharged with new strength. That's why we find, I'm convinced, I can't prove it to you, but I am convinced it's from the advent of Sri Ramakrishna, as we see the last 100, 200 years, religion has become again very powerful in this world. It was clearly on a downward slope, declining, expected to disappear. Nietzsche's God is dead. Well, no, God is not dead now. God is alive and kicking. And I am sure, and Swami Vivekananda and other great masters have all said, since the coming of Sri Ramakrishna, the Brahma Kundalini has awakened. So the cosmic energy in this universe has awakened for the time being. So it goes through cycles. It will again decline over time. But right now it is awake. Those who want spirituality, they will get it more easily than in earlier times. I remember one Swami telling me, so this is obvious. Don't you look at your own life? He meant the monks who are there in our main monastery. If you look at the scriptures, the Vedanta and all, and look at the qualifications for, he was saying to us, young monks, for monastic life, do you think we are qualified? We are not qualified. And yet here we are and we are doing well. What is the power which enables us to do this? We are not doing it on our own steam, not on our own strength. And there is a power, there is a strength behind us which enables all of this to happen. And it's the wise person who will recognize it. It's not me, but thou. It's quite obvious, quite obvious. So there is a power. That's why Avatara Varishta. Good. That hymn, if you look, that hymn is very powerful and very deep. There are many, many secrets there. For example, it's acrostic. Have you noticed? If you see that hymn, the first letter of each line, if you take it out, you will get Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. First letter of each line. That's how Swami Vivekananda wrote it, composed it. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.